Hello, everybody, and welcome to Once Upon a Crime Time. I'm your host, Tommy Jude, and I got some kind of exciting information I found out. I can have other um, other people like come on here and host, from their homes. So yeah, um, I'm gonna be, I'm talking to Karen. Maybe she might want to do some shows and stuff, and that would give me a break too. So yeah, it's cool. Welcome my crime family. Good to see you guys. And on such a short notice, I just kind of popped this one in there. Hi, Rach, how you doing, girl? Sandy Toes, Gianna, Natural Healing, Noni McPoppins, Bubble Bottle. I love that name. Fallon, hello, man. And Doc Terry and Demead and Sooner Girl and Deborah Thompson, Randy Potter, Shelly, Valerie Hope, Vicky Young, yeah, Lisa, Edric. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing everybody's names right. Deborah Lynn, Polly Putnam, yeah, hi. Sooner Girl 74. Hi to everybody. Um, I was just doing some research and I ran across uh, this article, and it's really quite something. It's from 2015, and I don't know if you remember. Um, oh, I got to say this too. First, I got to get to this. I guess some people complain about my smoking, so I don't know why it's not in their room, but I guess it looks unprofessional or something. So maybe I shouldn't do that. Anyway, um, so I was doing some research and I ran across this article, and it's quite interesting. And it makes me wonder. We were talking and debating about why the FBI went back into the home, and there could be a couple of different reasons. They could be doing what they said they were doing, but I really highly doubt it. Um, and another thing they could be doing is, that they kind of had um, a falling out with Moscow PD, right? I mean, Moscow PD kind of wanted to do their thing, and they kind of threw the FBI under the bus. You know what I mean? They kind of threw them under the bus because the FBI told them not to do what they did, and they went ahead and did it anyway with the IGG. They went ahead and did it anyway. And I'm sure that kind of ticked the FBI off. So we were just debating. This could be. I'm not saying it is or anything, but they could have went back in there looking for more DNA. They could have went back in there going, "Oh, really? Oh, we're going to go back in there looking for more DNA, and maybe they'll find somebody besides Mr. Kohlberger's DNA." Like, you know what I'm saying? You never know. You never know what the politics of between the FBI and the MPD. Um, yeah. So anyway, I ran across this article and I thought it was pretty pretty good article. So I'm going to run this article here. Bad FBI science. I don't know if you remember this. I do remember Whitehurst. Do you remember this name? Do you remember this name right here? He was a whistleblower. Dr. Frederick Whitehurst knows a thing or two about FBI lab scandals. As a a supervisory special agent and noted forensic scientist. He began complaining to his federal supervisors more than 25 years ago about shoddy policies and practices within the vaunted crime lab. Then in the mid 90s, he went public with his concerns, officially becoming a whistleblower by highlighting flawed forensics and testimony relating to, among other things, the Oklahoma City bombing investigation. For this, he was scorned by many of his colleagues and retaliated against at work, but ultimately vindicated by the Justice Department's Office of the Inspector General, which in 1997 issued a report endorsing some of Whitehurst's claim. He left the FBI following a settlement with the government in 1998 and now serves as a co-chair of the National Whistleblowers Center. We caught up with Dr. Whitehurst this week in the wake of the latest allegations of scientific misfeasance at the FBI crime lab. We know that nearly every FBI scientist at the lab before the year 2000, 26 out of 28, overstated his or her expert conclusions about matches from analysis of hair samples collected from crime scenes and or suspects. Hundreds of cases, at least, have been tainted, including at least 12 cases that resulted in a sentence of death. Check that out, folks. Hundreds of cases at least have been tainted, including at least 12 cases that resulted in a sentence of death. What does this latest forensic scandal tell us about the trustworthiness of FBI analysis in all those criminal cases? It tells us that all of them were doing the same thing when I was at the FBI. We had people with English degrees, history degrees, doing complex chemical analysis. Our chief chemist didn't have an undergraduate degree in chemistry. What the hell? They were not scientists. They were not scientists. Look at this. It tells us that all of them are doing the same thing. When I was at the FBI, we had people with English degrees, history degrees, doing complex chemical analysis. Our chief chemist didn't have an undergraduate degree in chemistry. They were not scientists. They weren't out to hurt anyone. They believed in their work. They believed what they were saying when they said it. Those people gave misleading testimony in courts of law, but they believed it. And they taught it to thousands of state hair examiners all over the United States. But you don't need Fred Whitehurst telling you this. The National the National Academies of Science already told us that. They've already told us that it's all crap. The FBI is still putting out invalidated work product, and I do not believe the FBI is going to fix this. As soon as this week's news is last week's news, they are going to stop the reform. What was revealed this week was known since 1998. They knew where there were issues. They did nothing about it. Why don't FBI scientists blow the whistles on their colleagues who are undertaking questionable lab work? Doesn't make sense. Once you embarrass the FBI, you lose your job, your reputation, your kids can't look forward to college, your mortgage defaults, you get a job working as a correctional officer or serving coffee. No one really seems to care. You have to be insane to tell the truth at the FBI. Absolutely insane. The recent Senate hearing concerning whistleblowing at the FBI spells it out very clearly. FBI managers will destroy anyone who does not give them the answers they demand. What are some of the perverse incentives built into the system? FBI scientists can look forward to comfortable retirements until they die. Who wants to give up all that? If you disagree with practices at the FBI, you will be put first on an administrative leave, probably sent for psychiatric evaluation. Really, and in parentheses, really. Fight alone without assistance from any citizens you are trying to protect for years and years and years, and see the folks who remain quiet gradually move on to better jobs and great retirement paychecks. What specific steps need to be taken to fix the problems? We have an adversarial justice system that encourages gamemanship, ambush, secrecy, and cheating. I'm going to read that again. We have an adversarial justice system that encourages gamemanship, ambush, secrecy, cheating. Lab analysis go along with the practices in our adversarial justice system because they don't have to compete with real scientists. They don't have to question their own work product. And so they are mentally lazy. We need to establish a National Defense Forensic Institute to do what science does, try to prove the null hypotheses. Let the FBI and states and the local enforcement have their own labs. Let them slant their results. And then let Defense Counsel be assisted by real scientists from the Defense Forensics Institute, an organization of scientists who can publish openly, criticize openly, do research openly, with the sole end of questioning government forensic lab scientists. What the fuck? You believe that shit? Excuse me. Can you believe that shit? Right, Fallon. I mean, that's just crazy. What the hell? What the hell? You know, I mean, that is just totally. And I have looked up some other stuff, and there's a book out the New York Times. I think they have the whole book there. Holy cripes! It was so long I couldn't. I'd be here for a week reading it. But there's many stories on this. Many. If you look out on the web, there's many stories on Whitehurst, and I don't know if you all remember Whitehurst. And I remember that name, and I remember when this kind of was going down, and I think it happened like like in '90s, later '90s or something. What's that say? This is intentional, organized, and complex corruptions, and it runs very deep everywhere, in my opinion. Yeah, you got it right there. Beboppity bop. Yep, it is insane. Hey, Rach. Hey, girl, how you doing? Debray, my girl. Yeah, I mean, this is some really crazy shit, and what does a person do? I'm hoping, I'm really hoping that in this case, I hope it's different. I hope they're going in there to find other DNA. I hope they're mad at the MPD for throwing the FBI under the bus, because that kind of politics does go on, and they should have let the FBI handle that case. Idaho just was not prepared for that case, and to let the people go that they let go so early on is just mind-boggling. And I don't know, I'd like to know, did they interview like Mr. Spades? Did they interview him in person, or did they just go on the phone? You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Because he took off to that cabin 5 hours away. Why did he take off to the cabin? Was he hiding scars on his hand, or wounds on his hands? Did they interview him in person? I'd like to know these things. And even when it comes out in court, I don't know if that's going to come out. If they had personal interviews, most people bring people in to the police station and question them. I don't think that happened in this case. I really don't think it, because there were so many. There was so many kids. It was too big, and for them to just take it on themselves, it's mind boggling. So yeah, those are some things that I'd like to know. You know, um, many of those kids, I'm sure the ones that were right there, they were probably taken in. I'm sure, like Jack of Hearts was probably taken in. Um, I would think, I would hope they would do an investigation like that. But this all happened so fast. It just happened so fast. I mean, 4 people were murdered terribly, and it just happened so fast that they got had a suspect. It just can't be done when there's the night before they had over 100 people at that house, and yet they only find l- such little DNA, and then that latent footprint. I mean, come on, that place was totally fucking clean, and the person that they're trying to say that did this and did it in 8 or 9 minutes, there's no way that he did all 4 of them and then cleaned up. How stupid is that? How fucking stupid do they think the public is? You know what? A lot of the American public is that stupid. I hate to say it, but they are. They are. They'll believe it. They'll believe it. You know it, and I know it. Hi, Rita. Yeah, I don't know. Let me see what's everybody saying here. Yep. Yeah. Right. Right, Deb. This rest in Pennsylvania. Talk for about 15 minutes and not record. Right, Jesse Lynn. Yeah, I heard that story too. That he did talk for about 50 minutes, and then he had his lawyer. Yeah, and it wasn't recorded. I mean, what? Oh man, I can't believe how shoddy this really was, and at first, when this first went down, everybody was praising them and everything of how fast they did it and all that, and just what a bunch of bullshit. You know what I mean? Just yeah. Excuse me while I catch up on some chat here. I agree with that too, Noni. Oh, hey, Ron John. Yeah, I agree with that, but they're trying. They're so blatant, Ron. Uh, um, and starting to wonder about this judge too. I have a feeling he's going to get found guilty, and I don't know. That's my feeling. I mean, if they can lie about lab stuff, and I mean, it's it's really scary what this case is representing. Um, Not just to the American public here, but for law enforcements, and FBI, because it's going to show what they can get away with. Know what I mean? It's going to show what they can get away with. If you think it's bad now, if they win this case and Kohlberger goes to the death penalty, they're going to know what they can get away with. And that's the scariest part of it all. So I don't know, folks. I don't know. Um, it's just a very scary situation all the way around. I know there's a vigil tonight, and I can't find who's carrying it. I was going to run it. Um, you know, um, I don't. Did everybody see Karen and I's dedication uh, early at 2 o'clock this morning, and then it's still up there. It's this that with that video, I did get slammed with a copyright um, for using uh, Celine Dion's song and one of the songs, and it's not. They didn't slam me. I didn't get a strike for it, but it's not showing in one area, and I'm not sure what area that is. Um, I could fix it by cutting that out, but I'm not going to cut it out. Um, Thank you, Cindy. Thank you, guys. Um, okay, most of you seen it. Okay, good. If not, you can look it up. It's not coming up on like it's not coming up on my main feed, which usually I'll on my personal channel. My Once Upon a Crime Time always comes up on my main feed because it gets quite a few views, right away and everything. This one isn't coming up on my main feed, and I'm sure it's got this little orange thing saying copyright deal, and I didn't get a strike for it, but um, it's not seen in a certain area and in some countries and certain areas, and I'm not sure where that is. Right, swamp side. Right. I know it's going to be hard for me to stop smoking. I'm sorry. For anybody that offends, I'm really sorry. Um, that's just me, you know what I mean? Um, I'm excited about being able to have other hosts that actually, and I don't even have to be there. I mean, they'll be able to go right into it and become part of Once Upon a Crime Time. And so there'll be more than one host, which I think is a good thing. It's like, like Joey Bishop filling in for Johnny Carson or something. Or like if you watch any of them, like Midas Touch or something, they have so many people. It'll be something where and I'm trying to talk Karen into that. Um, thank you, Sandy Tools and Rock Chalk. Now, some people, I suppose, are offended. They're not offended. They're just saying it's not professional, which I probably agree with them. Um, but I come from the days of Tom Snyder and Johnny Carson. Come on. You know what I mean? Anyway, um, geez, I hate to leave with this many people in here, but I just wanted to go over that FBI thing, and that is just that's unbelievable. I mean, they weren't even signed. They're not. You know what I mean? I don't know if that's changed. That was 2015, um, but it hadn't changed much since the 90s when Whitehurst came out and whistleblowed against them. Whistleblowed, whistleblower or whatever. They blew the whistle. It didn't change. It did for a little while, and then they just went right back into the same again. And I can't believe in this day and age that they didn't even have real scientists. They had like history teachers and stuff, history professors doing criminal lab work. Oh man, I don't know. And these are the people that we're trusting to give justice to Mr. Kohlberger, or no, excuse me, justice to those four. And that's what we're after, is justice for those four. Because we don't know if Kohlberger's guilty or not guilty yet. We don't. I'm hearing stories that he was in the house, and I'm not sure if has anybody else heard that story? Anybody else heard that story? Anybody else hear that story? That he was in the house? Yeah, just recently. Yes. Well, that makes it real interesting. That makes it real interesting. Could he be the one that said, "I'm here to help you"? Because that's what a police officer would say. And he was trained. He had police training. Did he go in there and was it already done? Because I think it was already done. I think it was already done. I really do. I think it was already done by the time he got in there. Or he was there. Because remember, he pulled in. I showed you that. He pulled in at that same time. They were loading up that truck. Then he backed out, right? Then he went and parked. But that truck took off too. I think that truck went to the house. But I do not believe, I do believe that they were taken out at the house. That the fight club, he might have got knocked out. He might have got knocked out. And that's who they were bringing over there. And I think what happened is he probably woke back up and the fight continued. in that house. And I think that's what Dylan is not reporting. Now, this is all speculation, spitballing. But it makes sense to me because of what all happened there in that section of time. We seen the Fight Club. I know that for a fact. That went down. There's nobody that's gonna. I don't care where you're from. If you've been in prison, where you. I did hard time in 7 different counties. So I know shit too. And I just know that we seen Fight Club. We knew that was going down. We seen Blueberry go like this. I seen all that stuff. That stuff went down. And unless you do the research, you're not going to know. You can't just not do the research and know. So there was that Fight Club. We pretty sure that we seen somebody loading something or somebody into that truck, and then Brian comes up, and you seen it too, and the headlights shine on and what was going on, and he backed out right away, and then went over there, and this is at 406 when he was supposedly parked. Okay, then that truck pulls out at 423. I think they brought him back over there. I think there was a lot more going on at that house. And I think it went a lot later than people realize. I think it went a lot later. And anyway, that's some. I sure got off the FBI deal, didn't I? I digressed. Okay, let me look at some chat stuff. Exactly, Cindy. Yeah, I don't think he was involved in any like knifings or anything like that. I'm pretty sure I know everybody that was involved. I really do. I'm almost 100% positive. 99.9%. That's all convinced. That's all convinced. Well, thank you, Deb. I don't know about all that, but because of the things that we've seen, I know the Jack of Hearts. I don't think he was involved at all in doing any the bad deeds. But he knows what happened. He knows exactly what happened, and he must have thought he got away with it. Oh, look, I don't have anything on me here. Let me strip for you. But that code of secrecy is going to be really hard to break through. And I don't think people realize how tight that is in the frats and the fraternities and the sororities and all that. I don't think they realize how tight that is. And that's going to be hard to break through. That's going to be really hard to break through. They need to get one of these kids. And you know who I would start with? You know who I'd actually start with? If I was let's say I was a law enforcement officer or the FBI or whatever, and I was going to interrogate somebody or bring someone in for questioning. Not really interrogate, but bring someone in for questioning. You know who I would start with? Jack of Hearts. You know why? Because I think he probably did love Kaylee. And he's seen what happened. And he's been around the family. And he has a soft spot for that family. He might be the key to breaking this case open. But you know what? If they don't bring him in and question him, I mean, and what is law enforcement hiding too? You know, what are they hiding? Because you know what? You know what's crazy is some of those people are from the same frats. And they had pledges too. Does that affect their thinking? I don't know. I don't know. It's been years ago since, you know what I mean? But does that still carry over? I don't know. I don't know. You wouldn't think so. You would think that justice means more than anything, unless you have relatives, children's involved. I agree. I agree, Linda Ann. I agree. Um, but I think that's where they should start. I really do. I think they should start with the Jack of Hearts. Get him in there, and people that don't know who Jack of Hearts is, should be able to figure it out. Heart, Jack. Um, because I really do believe that he loved Kaylee. They had been together for 5 years, spent a lot of time together. They'd only been split for 3 weeks. You think he doesn't love her? I think if I was a police officer or a detective, I think I'd be getting Mr. Jack. And I would be hitting him at every angle to make him talk of what happened that night. I do believe there was two different sets of things kind of going on. I think there was the Xana Ethan thing, and I think there was the Kaylee Maddie thing. And I think um, since I've gone from the FBI to this, sometimes I just start talking and I just go, and you know, it's all speculation. You remember that, everybody, folks. Remember, it's all speculation. But I do believe that Sana and Ethan, I'm just going to say it. I'm just going to say Queen of Piss, Spades, and Blueberry were Xana and Ethan. Kaylee and Maddie, Cowboy and Spades. That's I'm 99.9% on that. I don't think I'll ever change that. I don't think I'll ever change it. I'm going to let you guys. There's so many chatters in here. Maybe I'll find a video for you guys to watch. Oh, I know some people that got some new ones out. I hate doing that though when they got new ones. I don't like doing their new ones. Maybe I can find an older one or something. Um, Let me find something. Oh, I got to change accounts for this here. I know Neeks Peaks has got a new one, but geez, it's only 4 hours. 4 hours ago. Um, I hate doing that. Okay. Um, I'll run it at least for a while. Maybe I won't do the whole thing, but I really do like them. Uh, all right, here's Neek Speaks newest one.
Then right off into your imagination. I want you guys to answer a question for me, completely removed from this case. If I were to search your garbage can right now for genetic materials, how many profiles would I be able to build? Well, for those of you who don't live alone and by yourself, you probably answer to yourself, well, duh, everyone's. Right. I'm gonna jump on right.
Yes, please do. If you are not sub to Neek's Peaks, go look them up and make sure you sub to them because they are really good. And here, maybe I can send you um, the link to this here. Uh, now I got to change accounts on this one. Oops, dang it. Okay. I'm going to share the video link, and then you can get there from there. Neek's Peaks, yeah, Neek's Peaks. You gotta definitely subscribe to them. They're one of my favorites. And there's the link to this video. Then you can click on their little picture and sub them or whatever from there. Anyway,
Right out there, throw my neck down on the line, and go, you know what? I believe this whole matching it to Brian Koberger's dad is a way to remove themselves from Brian Koberger's DNA, other than their alleged profile that they've gained from the knife sheath. Like, oh, we haven't been anywhere near the dude. We totally got this off the knife sheath. It's been pretty obvious, and Bill has even pointed it out in court, that the defense is going after a frame up narrative where the police planted the defendant's DNA on the knife sheath. And guess what? I basically know nada about Brian Koberger, but he's definitely innocent until proven guilty. And I haven't seen anything that we can interpret to prove his guilt thus far. So, what I have seen is enough to make me believe that, yeah, I believe Moscow City PD would certainly plant some shit. And in fact, they've falsified evidence in many cases before. The entire state of Idaho has. So we're going to go through the timeline and I'm going to prove it to you. And I'm going to try to keep it as interesting as possible. So hold my beer. I have at least two posits that I want to make here. The first one, what if the IGG investigation never even actually happened? What the hell does that mean? Well, it means, remember that time that Bill Thompson was all like, oh, well, never mind. Let me just show you.
Ask for DNA workups on other people to the extent that they don't have them, they weren't done. We can't produce something that doesn't exist.
Well, wasn't that about a mouthful? No, it's gonna sound wild, but what if he's telling the truth? Maybe, like, turn over the info. You have the info, you think it's so great, prosecution worthy, then let's just see it. Bring it. But they refuse to bring it, and here we are a year later. So, in this little hypothesis, let's say that they already know that they want Brian Koberger Obviously, it didn't pan out for some of the other suspect DNA in the house, and it doesn't have to. I've seen a lot of people going round and around. How would they know Brian? Well, why Brian? Hello? Remember the thing where he did the thing? What's that called again? Oh, yeah, a job interview. He was applying for an internship and he applied, wrote about how he was going to help rural police forces. In fact, his job was a research position, a position that would put him in an administrative position, and one, in fact, where he is able to theorize and hopefully help inundate data the way it's processed and stored and help the police department that he's working for. Remember when Steve pointed out to us how that could be taken in a really negative connotation? Like, oh yeah, you're going to come around these parts and fix us and tell us how to run our police station, huh, boy? Ain't you something? Maybe that pissed him off. Maybe he got the job since they refused to say that he didn't. Even claimed they didn't have the paperwork. Well, you don't need any paperwork to say Cat didn't get the job. Maybe he did. Maybe he started going through that surveillance footage. Maybe he started going through body cam footage, since a lot of the Axon video has to be stored and put away in a cloud somewhere. And you know, BK happens to be that dude, right? Maybe there was a reason to frame BK. You don't know? I don't know that there was, but I definitely don't know that there was. You know what they say about open minds?
In 2019, the Pullman Police Department entered into a beneficial agreement with Washington State University's Department of Criminal Justice and Criminology. This collaboration formed a research consortium aiming to maximize the use of law enforcement data and address local research needs. This cost-effective partnership not only saved resources for the department, but also provided valuable experience for a WSU doctoral student, Megan Parks. Pullman Police Department has yet to release an annual report for the year 2022. This, along with the additional evidence that BK might have secured the internship, stirs curiosity. Such evidence includes the redaction of BK's email address, tagged with a censor sticker indicating employment or employee info. Upon being queried by journalists, the department declined to comment, citing advisory direction. The traditional inclusion of the intern in their annual report, coupled with the noticeable absence of the 2022 report, further intensifies the speculation about BK's possible internship. Their continued refusal to confirm or deny whether BK received the internship only adds to the intrigue.
Haters are rolling their eyes and being like, conspiracy theory. Bitch, please. You'll know whenever I'm conspiracy theorying out, because I'll be like, yo, I got something to tell you, but it's some really crazy shit, okay? And I know it's going to sound crazy. Probably am kind of crazy. But here's the crazy thing. But except this part isn't actually crazy, because entire fucking leadership of WSU's police force is forced into retirement. And old Gary moves on from Pullman Police over to WSU. So he is in charge of the guys who would later end up in the probable cause info. And he also gets to personally sign the paperwork where he bars Koberger from ever coming back to WSU campus. Hook, line, sinker. Now, defense attorneys have made it quite clear that they don't have any idea what's going on. And in fact, the New York Times knows more about the investigative genealogy work that the FBI allegedly completed on Brian Koberger's DNA than his defense attorneys. Now, that's saying something. But they apparently know a lot more than anyone, especially since they reported originally they were looking for a Nissan, apparently, to this reporter, according to the reporter. Oh, that was a terrible way to say that. Anyway, we'll get to that in a minute. So yeah, it's actually a fucking fact that the chief in charge of those WSU cops who are alerting Moscow allegedly about the 2015 car that didn't actually fit the description that they had communicated that they were looking for, but you know, they could just reverse engineer their case, no big deal. And to close out this little part, there we have Gary as a live connection, more connected to this dude than we've ever been pointed towards his connection with the Idaho 4 victims. Kind of interesting, right? Especially for everyone to be talking shit like, yeah, why would they do that to Koberger? I don't know. Use your imagination. It doesn't always work out pretty for the new guy on the force. Just ask this cop who barely worked for Post Falls for a year after being the new guy there from Hawaii. After he winds up calling in for help on his radio, he doesn't respond back, and it turns out I guess he had a big old heart attack behind the wheel. May he rest in peace. Something about this struck me as kind of sinister, but it's pure speculation. So that's all I'm going to say about that for now. Where were we? Reverse engineering the case. So what if they just said that they got Brian's dad's DNA, but actually what they got was Brian's DNA? Whether it be just a mere transfer DNA or what have you, well, now they've got it. As I just mentioned, we already know that they knew Koberger, so it's not like they just pulled some stranger out of a hat. And it's certainly possible that they already knew who they were going to hone in on. And that kind of seems to be the problem, right? Defense has been pointing out. New York Times knows more about the IGG than we do. And the prosecution has not been clear to the public nor to public defenders about which thing led to Koberger. Now, a lot of people are not making as big of a fucking deal out of that as it should be. And let me tell you why. Because the scope of that is going to come all the way back to the arrest itself. And it could very well wind up being the fucking gauntlet. You remember when Bill points out, like, we can't just hone in on him because of IGG. So they don't need the IGG info because we didn't use that. That wasn't our probable cause. So what was their probable cause? Because the loose connections to the Hyundai Elantra damn sure ain't it. To reiterate, we're going to talk about the Elantra too, but high and tight on the issue. They cannot just hone in on someone that they want to investigate. Like, hey, you know what? That motherfucker looks weird. And even fucking Idaho was like, you know what? We should probably have more than just IGG to go off of. Indeed, they should. They should, in fact, probably have that before they even go after the IGG anyway. But I digress. Okay, you guys still holding my beer because I made a little animation and I hope that this kind of helps connect the dots because, I mean, hell, the animation helps even if you already understand the fucking shit because it's so stupid and secretive and annoying. I don't exactly know how we feel about going purely off of this New York Times article, but I mean, considering that Brian Koberger's entire defense team was okay with it and his expert witness mentioned it, as well as both of his attorneys, they seem to be pretty satisfied with the info. So according to that reporter, by the morning of December 19th, records had shown that investigators had a name, Brian Koberger, and he had a white Elantra. He was a student at the university 8 miles from the murder scene. Now let's build this thing from the ground up. Unlike Moscow, they went backwards, starting out with the two separate and distinct profiles, which Bill Thompson is arguing should be handled completely differently. This is the difference between the SDR and S&P profile, but I'm going to make this a little bit simpler and I'm going to just call them forensic DNA profile and the genetic DNA profile. Now, according to the prosecution, both of these, so it's going to start from the middle of this animation. Allegedly, they found the knife sheath. There was a suspect's profile hanging out on the button. The forensic team at the ISP lab allegedly were having difficulty getting this entire profile off of the sheath in the first place. Now comes a private contracted lab, Othram, located in Texas, which would help flush out that genetic profile. In other words, it would make it complete. So whenever you have a partial DNA or touch DNA, there are many segments that are missing. It's not a full profile. Well, science has advanced where there is a method where, through the use of human intelligence as well as laboratory technology, they can kind of fill in these gaps and replicate the segments that are missing from the partial profile. This is the human error that you keep hearing defense attorneys respond to because it does take a certain amount of human decision to fill in those gaps, right? It's a human running a program and going, yeah, okay, program, that's a good idea. Let's do that. Okay, now all we still have is a tiny amount of DNA, right? Even when we fill the sequences in. But that doesn't really work in the forensic world. You need control data and you need a lot of it. But that's no big deal. Scientists use a process that's called PCR to make lots of copies of that DNA sample. This is known as DNA amplification. So they put it in there, spins around, makes millions, even sometimes billions of copies. Then that DNA is mixed in a special liquid called a buffer solution. This helps to stabilize the DNA. Now get this, that buffer solution, it can essentially become just another sample in a jar, just like the one you spit in right before you mail it off to 23andMe, Ancestry.com, MyHeritage, insert genetic laboratory here. Rarely use the GED match backdoor. That's right, a so-called glitch in the software. It's not actually technically a glitch in the software, and it sort of pisses me off that it's been framed this way. The fucking glitch is that your DNA profile is not counterfeit safe, right? I've never turned in my DNA. 23andMe does not know my DNA. They never received my DNA. So if you get my DNA, you can send it into 23andMe, write Jane Doe on it, and boom, there you go. This is actually how a lot of Indians get their DNA tested, because a lot of nations and bands and tribes have refused to let their members participate in genetic genealogy. Oh, it's like they knew not to do that. We always just thought Mama and Papa were cray. Okay, according to prosecution, it was the knife sheath DNA itself which was the probable cause. Let's go over it one by one. They take the alleged profile off of the sheath and they do the process that we discussed, and they generate two working profiles, an SMP and an SDR, the forensic and the genetic profile. Presumably, the forensic profile just chills there while an SNP profile is created in order to research relatives in the family tree that's relative to suspect DNA. So they get that off the sheath. They make two distinct profiles with it that are pertinent to this fight. According to them, they uploaded it to CODIS and that didn't create any hits, which seems kind of crazy to me because everybody's got a cousin in prison, right? I mean, if you're me, you've got dads, brothers, cousins, uncles, aunts, but I digress. I guess some people don't even have their sixth cousin in prison. Y'all are hella bougie. No, it's totally on you guys for being bougie. This ain't on me. So Bill Thompson says that they flesh that genetic profile out, do a bunch of investigation on literally hundreds.
I think the reason why, Thomas, is they are very, very scared. There is, because there is quite a few people that they will hold on to that information for as long as they live. They have pledges and oaths to keep, and they're tough to break. They're going to be tough to break. And that's why I'm saying I think the key to this is getting Jack of Hearts and getting him into an interview room, an interrogation room. And I think he'd be the one to break because of his love for Kaylee. And I really do believe he would be the key to this. Yes, exactly, Rita.
Hundreds of Brian Koberger's relatives, and they decide at some point, okay, they have a name. If we're to believe the New York Times article, then that happened on December 19th. Now, they use this name that they've just recently gotten, and they take it right on over to Koberger's apartment, search it, search the shed, yada yada. And if we're to believe what they're saying, they had nothing to do with the fact that Indiana police pulled over Koberger, which to me is pretty fucking suspect. But okay, more of the story, Koberger is on his way back to Pennsylvania. Now, a 4-day stalking fest went on. Oh, I'm sorry. A task force surveyed him for 4 days in his hometown. During this time, unnamed agents, because it doesn't even specify what agency retrieved the garbage DNA. And garbage DNA, while sure, it's legal, garbage is abandoned, right? But there is a formality and a transparency level because it's not exactly on the up and up, even in the LE world, because, you know, they don't want to dig through your garbage unless they absolutely fucking have to. It'd really be easier to just have you come up there, chill out with them for a little bit and offer you some drink. Boom, DNA. Digression. So some unnamed agent goes through the garbage and allegedly gets out Papa's DNA. But as I posited, why the hell wouldn't anyone else's DNA have been furnished during that search is very suspect. What is, and I could let that go. But here we have a reporter who is reporting from an unnamed source close to the investigation that Brian Koberger was throwing his garbage away at the neighbors. And everyone has literally conjectured about this for a fucking year without going, wait, the fucking neighbors' garbage is also abandoned. So some FBI agents just watching, I'm sorry, a Pennsylvania agent, whoever the fuck, Dirty Dirt is checking out Bronco Burger, going over to the neighbors, and presumably for some reason, you know, the neighbors, they own their fucking garbage in some other new way that, you know, the Kohlbergers aren't privy to. Fucking stupid. I'm cussing a lot in this one, you guys. Let me hit that beer real quick. I don't even drink. All right. I mean, I do turn up. Don't get me wrong. It's not on beer. No, not that either. Calm down. I don't appreciate your accusations. Now, everyone who gives Moscow PD all the credit in the world, it takes time. These things don't just happen. Boom, they do whenever they want that shit to happen because we're kicking up the DNA timeline and it's zooming now because they send back Papa's DNA, allege that it is a match to the forensic profile. Remember that other vial that I said must just be sitting there chilling? We're to presume they did nothing with it yet. We're to presume they saved it right there for this forensic moment. And boom, that's a search warrant. And that is pretty much all she wrote about that. That is exactly why Bill is saying that it was not a part of his probable cause warrant. I mean, again, it's discoverable and everybody has already laid out and decided, even though it's not been brought up in too many cases at this point yet, the American Bar Association has long set out guidelines stating that yes, this is everything that they've been asking for a fucking year is fully discoverable. But on a technicality, he's not wrong. And technically everyone else is wrong when they're like, they're so dumb that they put it in the probable cause warrant. They did use it as probable cause. It's right there in black and white. But it's not. In black and white is the forensic profile, which technically is in a separate part of the chain of custody. Although it is a chain, it goes all the way back to an original link, which FYI is the IgG. However, the forensic part of it, according to Bill, not only just takes a link on that evidence chain, but it builds a fucking fort on it. And he wants to start the chain of evidence at the fort instead of at the first link. Check yourself before you wreck yourself, Bill Thompson. You guys are probably not as interested enough for me to even go into all the other ways that this could possibly go wrong, especially when there's not a chain of custody or a complete discovery for the defense attorneys, including the fact that counterfeiting DNA happens. And if they did have a partial profile somehow, but not a full profile, Brian, technically the dad's profile could help them fill in those gaps that I was talking about, right? Those sequencing and those genome gaps in order to reverse engineer the DNA to be interpreted the way that they need it to be interpreted. But with Bill Thompson over here screaming the whole time
That is just wow. Just wow.
he can't give you something that doesn't exist and there is no IgG information. Maybe it all started at the trash can. But either way, again, the biggest issue here is going to go all the way back to the scope of this arrest. And if you get the arrest thrown out, you might as well take those chains and those links and throw them out the window. And while I wish that this was going to be foolproof, I don't know, because I don't trust Ann or Brian's defense team anymore. They seem to come on strong and hot and do a little bit, and now they're ready to sink him. And that was probably their job all along. I mean, that's what happened in this book that I read one time, if I had read a book about that or whatever. Purely because lawyers get all litigious and shit if you don't make sure you're speculating. Specifically, litigious motherfuckers. Why can't they get litigious right now? Don't know. Guess that's just how it goes down in Idaho.
Okay, everybody. Yeah, that was quite a video. That is just unbelievable. Yeah, they could take what they got from the dad and take parts of that ED or the DNA and make it so it's Brian's. Did you get that? Isn't that crazy? That's fucking crazy. That's scary crazy. And the problem is, that's why this case is so important, because it's going to set a precedence for this country. This isn't just a case against Mr. Kohlberger. And that's what people need to understand. This is going to be setting a precedence throughout the country for cases amongst cases amongst cases amongst cases. And it's going to show police departments and prosecutions, DAs across this country, what they can get away with to save their hide politically. And that is to put an innocent man in jail. Exactly. Exactly, Grammy. Exactly. Yes. Okay, I'm going to finish out with some songs for you guys. And I love you all, my subs, my crime family, my mods. You are wonderful. You're the awesomest in the world. You really are. And until next time, you know the words. What is it? Rock and roll.
Me in the morning on a bright and sunny day. Yes, you left me in the morning on a bright and sunny day. You didn't wait for me, mama. You didn't even say goodbye. I tried so hard to be there by your side. I tried so hard there by your side, but you didn't wait for me, mama. You didn't even say goodbye. By your side, yes, I tried so hard to be there by your side, but you didn't wait for me, mama. You didn't even say goodbye. sunny day. You left me in the morning on a bright and sunny day. You didn't wait for me, mama. You didn't even say goodbye. I cried so hard as I stood there by your grave. I cried like a child as I stood there by your grave. Lost my last chance to say goodbye on that bright and sunny day.